All right, well, we've made it here. It's Finke 2025. The boys have done a great job getting the new Mav R built. It's been a much bigger job for us than the old X3. This was a much more difficult car to build. It's a much bigger car. A lot more parts, a lot more moving parts and a lot more electronics, but when you get it on the track, it's just much more of a car. The difference between this and our old car is phenomenal. We've got more wheel travel. We're running bigger tyres. We're running the new Moto Rally tyres. They're just amazing in that rough. Mike spent a bit of time with us from Mike's Shock Shops. We've got the new Kings on this car. We've got the setup as good as I reckon we're going to get it. It's such a nice car to drive. It's faster than the old car. We've got no excuses this year. It's all here waiting. We've got to get it out there now and get on the track and see what sort of time we can post this year. So it's a long way, all the way down to Finke and back, but we'll push it as hard as we can and see what happens.
So we're finally here, months of hard work, countless hours, lots of late nights. We're here in Alice Springs, the Red Centre, the geographical centre of Australia, for the toughest off-road race in the Southern Hemisphere, the TATS Finke Desert Race. Tonight, we gather at the race site out near the airport. All the car and motorcycle competitors in one place. They go through full safety scrutineering and regulatory checks. The town comes out, we have a festival, a party, there's bands, there's music, there's drinks, everyone has a great time. But tomorrow things get serious. An 8-kilometre loop, the toughest off-road track in Australia. Whoops, tight corners, long straights. Test these vehicles and drivers to their maximum to determine the start position for day one. Sunday is when things get serious. The vehicles travel south, nearly 230 kilometres through the middle of Australia, through the toughest conditions imaginable, to see who can get to Finke the fastest. And then on Monday, we're going to do it all again. So let's see how we go.
That's Finke 2025 qualifying done. We're probably a little further down than what we were hoping. Looks like we've ended up third. Just been a new car, trying to work out how to drive that manual gearbox to the best of its ability. Struggled with it a little bit. It's a lot different to drive than the X3. Definitely faster in the rough, just trying to get it around the corners. Probably had a little bit of a wrong strategy coming in with there was mud everywhere on the track, and we'd drive around the mud because it was so deep. We just forgot how good the grip is. These tyres, we ended up going through them and with so much more traction in the mud, and we should have just driven through it to start with. But we've ended up third. We had a little excursion off. We went in the bush for a bit, but we got it back on the track pretty quick. And we're 8 seconds behind the lead Can-Am. We'll see where we end up by tomorrow, but we'll get the bigger tyres back on for tomorrow, and we'll see if we can chase them down. Day one, car's ready. Jake?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Jake's ready. Jake's ready. Jake slept in his race suit, so he was literally born ready to sport it. We're going to get out there, I'm going to give it a crack. So we got every last litre of fuel in the car, and we know the thing's good in the rough. So hopefully today will be our day. All right, boys. Well, we made it to Finke, so we're halfway. We did what we came here to do. We've ended up 19th outright, and we're first in class by a couple of minutes. The field's pretty tight this year. There's a bunch of guys that are traveling pretty quick, and it was the roughest track I've ever been on here. It was we actually went slightly slower than last year, and in a far better car. That's just a bit of an indication on how rough the track was. We took it easy for the first, till deep well to the first section. We were a bit worried about our fuel, and we got to our first where we'd calculated our fuel. Like, right, we're right, so foot down and off we went. Regained a bit of time, and we kept it down the whole way, but it was rough. There was so many cars broken down. I've never seen that many cars, and especially in under the 100K. It was rough, but you know, the Can-Am, it's done so well. In the rough, we could just hold the speed. We were sort of averaging about 10k an hour better speed in the rough, in the real rough, than what we did last year. But it was just so much more of it. So anyway, we're in a good spot for tomorrow. We're inside that top 20 for tomorrow, so we'll get a good start in the morning, and we'll push this thing all the way home and see where we end up. All right, day two. It's a cold morning at Finke. It's an early start. We're just about to head up to the start line now. The sun's not even up. We've done driver's briefing. So that track's rough on the way down. Generally on the way back, it's even rougher. You know, all the cars and the motorbikes, it just stands all those little bumps up. So we're expecting to cop a bit of a beating this morning, but we got a 2-minute lead, or just over 2 minutes. So we'd like to keep that or make it a bit longer, but we'll see what happens. We made it back. It was only just. We were tracking really well. The car was on fire. We were setting really good pace. We were nearly a minute faster per sector than the car behind us, or the guy that ended up winning. And we were caught in the dust of a trophy truck. And we followed the trophy truck from about the 80k mark. And then at about the 30k mark in their dust, we ran off the track and we hit a bunch of stuff, and I was hit on the brakes hard, and we blew the tail shaft from the disconnect module to the front diff. And we tried to keep going, but it was just belting around everywhere, and it was smashing me in my ankle that was on the accelerator. So
we pulled over and it had cut through one of the fuel lines. Lucky that tank was empty. It cut through the brake lines for the rear brake, so we didn't have much braking. We borrowed some tools off a camper and we pulled that tail shaft out. We got going again and still no one had passed us. I couldn't believe it. We'd been on the side of the road for over 10 minutes. And we did about 20 Ks in two-wheel drive. The car was going unreal. It was actually so good to drive in two-wheel drive. And then one of the back CVs that we knew was a problem, we'd had a rip root on the way down and we couldn't get it out of the car to replace it. And we'd packed it and taped it, and that CV failed. So then we're on one-wheel drive from the 10 kilometres to the finish, so I just parted on, like, we just needed to make it, you know. We were still first car on track. We came across the finish line, still first car after all that. I couldn't believe it that we'd made so much time prior to that. And but you know, the car was just so amazing. We were getting up to 170 k an hour, even two-wheel drive. We're still at 170 k an hour. But with one wheel, I wasn't game to push it more than 70, because if we lost that last axle, it was it. So in the mud, it was awful to drive around the corners. It was steering funny, but we come across the line and we ended up second in class by 2 minutes 50 something, and we're 17th outright, which I can't believe we're that far up the field with how long we stopped. But it was just how good this thing was going the whole day, you know. For the first 190 kilometres, the car was just on fire. It just didn't do anything wrong. He did everything right. So that's Fink. It's a long way. We get a spike, we get a second place trophy, we get to fix the car, and we get to go and have a crack at the next one.